Welcome to Hypnotic Authenticity. My name is Chris. I'm a practical, grounded hypnotherapist. I'm based in Switzerland, and this is a space that I have created to foster a genuine sense of inner settling, a place to harmonize with yourself and bring about the improvements to your well-being that, I don't know, maybe perhaps you thought were literally impossible. So my episodes are an invitation to reconnect with all that is alive inside you, to examine the stories that you live your life by, and to maybe soften the edges of what it is that you believe yourself to be in order to create a bigger, broader, more expansive sense of your personal agency and your personal understanding. So I'm going to be talking about identity, about existence, about self-resonance, self-harmony, about authenticity. And that'll all be wrapped up with a sprinkling of hypnosis or guided meditation to help you settle, to help you align and return to yourself. So if you're ready, take a breath and let's begin.
I'm going to start with a little quote from Carl Jung. And the quote is, if I recall correctly, one does not become enlightened by considering figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Which to me kind of begs the question in the first place of why was the darkness out of consciousness? But that basically we become enlightened by understanding ourselves in our entirety, rather than in the parts of us that we consider to be most palatable. Okay. So here's my take on why they're not conscious, why we are either pretending that they don't exist or literally unaware that they exist. We as individuals, and I guess also as society, from before we're even aware that we're learning, from the moment we exist, maybe even from the moment we're in the womb, who knows? We're picking up signals as to what is acceptable, what is not, what is safe and what is not, what is praiseworthy and what is not. And, we're in a circumstance where we are dependent upon our mother initially, then our family, our caretakers, our authority figures, whoever it may be. We learn to exaggerate the acceptable parts of us, to put our best foot forward, sort of thing. Initially in order to remain safe, but later in order to receive approval, caring, kindness, love, acceptance, whatever it may be. We learn to promote the acceptable self of ours and to hide the other part for fear that disapproval when we're very, very young will cause us to be abandoned, and for fear as life progresses that we will be unloved, will be rejected, will be shamed, will be kind of sent into exile. Yeah. And, this begins as an process of necessity in order to be looked after, when we are powerless to look after ourselves, and then becomes kind of existential in terms of supporting our basic needs. We are a social animal. We need approval from others. And we become so good at it, just like driving a car, that it becomes totally automatic. Totally automatic. And we kind of lose track of the fact that we're even doing it. So then we have a half idea about ourselves. We understand the great bits about ourselves. And we kind of know there's something amiss. We kind of know that there's bits of us that we really should not show in public because imagine what might happen if we did. And so this becomes reinforced and compounded. But the conclusion of that is that part of me is unacceptable. Part of me is it's even beyond faulty, right? It's shameful. If part of us is beyond faulty, if part of us is actually prohibited, okay, dangerous at an existential level, then in order to serve our greatest needs, we hide it. We pretend it's not there. And we do this, to a fantastic extent. To the point where we kind of forget it's a part of us. Because that's kind of the best way for it, right? It allows us to get on with life. It allows us to progress, to succeed, to be approved of, and so on. Until it reaches the point where, for whatever reason, doesn't feel comfortable anymore. It's a half truth, or it's a half lie. And for some people, this becomes the dark night of the soul, okay? The kind of the day of reckoning. For others, it's just a nagging doubt that not really me, becomes a weight. And so what Jung is saying is, in order to understand ourselves, we need to understand the part of us that we have pushed beyond our willingness to look, okay? We may be half aware of them and have chosen not to see it, but behind that, there are things that we probably aren't aware about at all. We're into sort of repression territory here. We're into sort of more Freudian ways of looking. So we've learned for year upon year that there are elements of us that are unpalatable, potentially that violate the social norms, okay, that are disappointing, that will bring disapproval to us. And because we kind of push them away and don't explore them, we're not quite sure just how bad they are. They might be really, really bad. They might be uncontrollably bad. They may end us up in jail. They may end us up dead. Who knows? Because the story is so powerful that we kind of repress, stroke deny it. So when you consider it, it brings up all of that kind of I'm not good enough, I should be trying harder type of story, or or some kind of variant of that. Because, well, at least for me, we're seeking validation outside of ourselves, right? That that our sense of well-being is determined by other people's approval. So for me, the willingness to consider my dark side kind of came from the dark side of continuing with that story. Okay. It's that, okay, so if in order to be valid myself, I need to seek other people's approval, then I'm going to go after that approval in ways which aren't authentic to me. That could potentially be manipulative to other people as well. Okay. Because I'm starting to project something because of a need that I perceive I'm not worthy of unless I project a full story. So I attached ugliness to doing that. So I had to do something else. And then having attached ugliness to continuing in the way that you are going, well, then you can consider what might be an alternative to that. And different people are going to come to different conclusions about what a good mechanism is for them, but it's down to this idea of bringing back up to consciousness the things that were unconscionable, okay, that were violations of the social norms and therefore to be stuffed down. So you permit yourself to consider those things at the moment that you realize that the attention seeking, the approval seeking, the perfectionism, the people pleasing, whatever it may be, actually is not in your interest. And therefore, there has to be a better way. Another kind of helpful way of doing it is just accepting that you're a member of the human race and that everybody has a dark side. Everybody has thoughts inside them themselves that they then double think and go, oh, I shouldn't be thinking that. Everybody is fallible. Everybody makes mistakes. You know, that the human condition is like that. And that great things come from making mistakes. That all of the best things that have ever occurred in the world probably emerged as a result of a whole slew of mistakes, because that's how people move forward. So there's lots of ways of getting to the point. I think I mentioned in another of the videos about this book by, I think it's William Blake, The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. No matter how much you look for the bright side, the only thing that's guaranteed is that if you look, you will find the hell. So it's not hard in actual fact. Once you open yourself up to permit yourself to consider the whole of what you are, to discover your dark side, right? So then what do you do? What do you do, right? You have these dark, evil thoughts, which you thought were just you and that were unforgivable. But in actual fact, everybody's kind of having similar thoughts. You know, there might be different dark thoughts to yours, but they're equally dark. What we consider to be dark is based upon our experiences of how we were rejected. Okay, so somebody else's definitions are going to be different. Some are going to be more extreme than others because of their personal experiences. But to each one of us individually, they feel like the worst thing in the world because we relate to them ourselves. So it's this idea of cutting yourself some slack, of being what you are, of deciding that the other way is not delivering what it was supposed to deliver, and therefore having an interaction with your dark side, with the parts of you that are unforgivable. Okay. When you run away from them, they have massive energy, right? They have power over you. The more you run away from them, the louder they scream, the more they laugh in your face and tell you the truth is unacceptable. When you go towards them, and you can say this about every emotion under the sun, it turns out they're not as bad as you thought they were, right? Go to the needs underlying the thought. Go to the first time you ever felt that feeling or the first time you ever thought that thought. Go to so what? So what? So what? So what? Go to is this my thoughts or did I learn this thought from somewhere else? There's lots and lots of ways of doing it. But given that it's an inevitability, okay, given that you are like that, given that these thoughts are there, these feelings are there, the more that you can embrace them, the more that you can own them, name them, maybe write them down, maybe do a journal of all of your dark thoughts for a month, right? You might even enjoy it. You might end up laughing about the bad stuff that you write down. It ceases to be like the Death Star tractor beam. It ceases to draw you in, and it becomes a facet of your personality. When it is a facet of your personality rather than this dark but attractive unforgivableness, then you have a choice, right? Then you no longer run down the route because it's just like this tractor beam that you must not speak. Instead, it's just a part of you. And And so you actually no longer need to bother with the dark side as much as you thought it was uncontrollably just there, festering and bubbling and boiling away. And the more you think about it, the less you think about it in a kind of an obtuse way, because it ceases to have power over you. If you can consider the reasons why you think certain elements of you are unacceptable, go back to those stories, play those stories in your head, and re-evaluate with your adult mind as to whether that's true, what the meaning was at the time, is that meaning valid today, all that kind of good stuff. Well, you can bring some amazing awareness to your situation. And so, in the words of Jung, you become enlightened, you become whole, you become accepting of all of you. And suddenly, the parts of you that you were afraid of, they no longer have any control over you. They're just one of a range of emotions that is part of the human existence. So actually, you get freedom from it. You get release from it. Um, and I think that is one of the cornerstones, one of the bedrocks of authenticity. It's owning the parts of you that could potentially be disapproved of by other people. You know, people in glass houses should not throw stones, sort of an approach. It turns out that everybody's got the same thoughts. That's not to say that some things are not genuinely shameful. And it's not to say that shame isn't a valid emotion. Okay, it's useful. It can protect us. You know, you could imagine it in sort of degrees of embarrassment and so on, in order to maintain you as part of your social sphere. So it can be useful. But if there are stories running which make part of you alienable, but then it's gone beyond that. It's gone into toxic shame, which, it just seems to also be part of the human condition until you evaluate the sources of that information. So we're kind of back again at the considered life. When you own all of you and it ceases to have a grip upon you, and you can permit yourself the whole range of thoughts and feelings, including rage and fury or whatever, everything, okay? Absolutely everything. Doesn't mean to say you're going to act on it, but you will permit yourself the entire range of thoughts because they're kind of there anyway. You learn to trust yourself, okay? You learn that actually you're not as bad as you thought you were. You learn that actually you're quite a good person. You learn that perfectionism is not something to aspire to. You learn to breathe more deeply, to care for yourself. And the end result of all that is that everything around you changes because you are projecting an authentic self. Everybody else lightens up because no one needs to walk around on eggshells. And therefore, everybody benefits. This is a process that goes through stages, so it doesn't all occur in one go. You will bring up awarenesses that make you go, wow, that's incredible. And you think that's it. A week later, 6 months later, 6 years later, you may discover another layer. You know, the whole idea of personal discovery is it kind of never ends. There's always another layer of the onion to peel off. So the gifts continue coming the more you are willing to look. And that's all brilliant. So whether you follow my words or you follow Jung, you know, you're not going to find enlightenment looking where you've always looked. You're going to find enlightenment in looking in the places that you dare not look, sort of approach. And the more you do it, the more enlightened you become. Yeah. And you just become a nicer person to yourself when you own all of you. And that's my aim. In fact, even saying that, I can feel this kind of tingling between my heart and my stomach. You know, what I want is for you, dear viewer, and you and you and you and you and you and all of you to be happy being you. Because if you're happy being you, well, you know, there's less need to push against the system. There's less need to fight. There's less irritability because you're already sort of comfortable inside your own skin. And the more that people are comfortable inside the skin, the less they need to do stuff which isn't really on their golden path, right? And instead to follow their heart. You know, you can only be kind externally when you're being kind internally. And that's a choice. So it comes from awareness. Okay. I'm going to stop evangelizing now. I think that's pretty good. But thank you for watching. I'm sorry it's got a bit rambly, but kind of goes with the territory with the subject as rich and vivid as that. All right. Thank you for watching. Let me know if it's something which is good. It's an uncomfortable subject, right? It has to come from the heart. But I think this is the route to joy and to peace. So so I have no choice but to rabbit on about it. Okay. Um, if there are questions, because I'm certain I haven't explained all of the routes, I've just explained a few that I've seen worked for me or worked for other people. You know, if you've got other suggestions, you can bring that up. If you tried those things and they didn't work and you need to try something else, yeah, just build a little conversation, because I think this is so important for the well-being of all of us. All right. Thank you very much for watching. I hope it's of benefit. Even if only one sentence in the whole thing is of benefit, then that's made the world a better place. All right. Take care and go have a look at the other videos. I'm going to continue populating this anyway, but there's probably quite a few now that might speak to you. All right. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If it resonates with you, then follow my podcast. I would also personally be really grateful if you might wish to leave a quick rating. It genuinely helps others to discover the podcast. If you personally would like more guided meditations, you want some deeper insights, you'll find all my links in the description. If you prefer a more visual boost, then you might want to check out my YouTube channel called Authentic Life Hypnosis. And if you're looking to do some deeper work that goes beyond one-way audio, then obviously you're very welcome to reach out. Equally, if you have any questions, I'm here to help. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.